Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back. Kellen here with Droid Life. We've got the G5 in-house, and no, we're not doing your sort of typical unboxing that we would because, well, LG sent us over an early unit to take a look at, and we don't actually have packaging. So we just thought we'd take a second look, though, because it's coming out soon. The Galaxy S7 has arrived, and you're probably deciding, should I go S7, G5, wait for something else? And so we want to start talking to you about it well before we actually get to launch day. So we're revisiting. This is a quick second look at the LG G5. All right, so if we sort of just recap the G5, it's been a few weeks since you guys have probably seen it. Oh, and yes, this is the pink version. I don't know if that's LG playing some sort of like sick trick on us because, you know, there's pink in Droid Life, or if this is just what they had, but I do find it kind of hilarious that I'm going to be carrying around a pink G5 for the next few weeks. But to recap, stock specs really quickly. So you do have, let's unlock her there. We have a 5.3 inch Quad HD IPS quantum display here on the front. That's 2560 by 1440 and 554 pixels per inch. Now we talked about this earlier, but what LG's done here is deliver a phone that's slightly smaller than their last couple of flagships. So the V10 is obviously a big phone, but the G5 had a 5.5 inch display. LG told us that they decided to shrink her down just a little bit because they believe this is a sweet spot, and that's sort of what their customers told them. So I do appreciate a phone shrinking down instead of going up. In terms of the rest of the specs, you have a Snapdragon 820 processor, just like the Galaxy S7 here in the US. You have 4 gig of RAM, 32 gig UFS storage on the inside, but you do have a micro SD slot that holds up to 2 terabyte cards. Now, I don't think 2 terabyte cards exist, and I've looked and I haven't been able to find them. If someone does, please send me a link. So theoretically, that's 2 terabytes, but really we're talking probably 200 gig SD card max for now until someone goes crazy with it. On the back, we do have that 2-camera setup, which has been sort of controversial in terms of the appearance up here, which we'll get to a little bit later. We have 16 megapixel and 8 megapixel sensors. One is a normal shooter, one is a wide angle lens. On the front, you do have an 8 megapixel camera up front. So lots of resolution to go around. We do have a 2800 milliamp hour battery on the inside, and it does pop out here out of the bottom. And I'll show you that here in just one second. Android 6.0.1 Marshmallow with LG skin on top. And of course, NFC and LTE and all of that stuff. You do also have a USB Type-C port on the bottom. So again, Samsung's really one of the only companies this year that didn't go Type-C. LG's doing it. Obviously, the Nexus phones have it. We're pretty sure HTC is going to do it, and I wouldn't doubt it if Motorola does too. You do have a rear firing speaker down here on the bottom. This is a fingerprint reader on the back. It also doubles as a power switch, so you guys can hear that clicking there. So it is actually a power switch, but unlike the V10, this is a capacitive sort of fingerprint style reader where if your phone is locked, you can just put your finger over it and it will unlock, rather than with the V10, you had to sort of press the button to wake up your phone, then unlock it. It was really a bad implementation. This is a much better implementation. You will notice, however, the volume rocker situation is no longer on the back. And yes, it is over here on this left side. So your volume rocker here, power button here. I know that's different from what LG's done the last couple of years, and a lot of you are sort of a little worried about that. I actually appreciate this setup. It reminds me a lot of the Nexus 6P. So the Nexus 6P has that sort of capacitive style fingerprint reader on the back with volume rocker on the side. So I actually really like this implementation. Never really was a fan of the up and down volume back here, but again, that's just sort of a personal taste thing there. Up top, headphone jack. So LG for a long time was a bottom headphone jack company, which I appreciated, but with the G5, they've gone up top. And yeah, this is all metal. This is LG's really their first all metal phone. I will say one thing, it reminds me, so I've been on this phone for about a day now. Taking just a really, really short break on the S7 before we get back to that. But I will say it reminds me of the 6P, the Nexus 6P, or if LG were to make the high-end Nexus of last year, this is what I imagine it being like. It has that all-metal, really premium feel to it. You've got this slight chamfer edge around the outside. And then, the really nice fingerprint reader. And it just feels like a really, really high-end phone. It's definitely LG's best-made phone to date. So anyway, that's just a quick tour of the outside here. One thing to show you, well, a couple things. So this right here is your SIM tray, also doubles as an SD card slot. And then let's just pop out this bottom so you can see how that works. Now, one of the big features, obviously, with the G5 is its modularity. pretty sure that's a word, where you can add on, for now at least, a camera grip that also extends the battery in case you want to use it more like a point and shoot style where you can grip. There's also a DAC you can add on here to up the audio experience. But for those who just love removable batteries, LG kept that. Even though it's all metal, sort of mostly unibody, you can slide this out, and it is done with this little button right here. So you just sort of squeeze, and then you kind of pull. It's not incredibly easy, but it's also not hard or difficult to do, and that's probably a good thing. You don't want this popping out in the middle of the day on you. So here is the battery, and again, it is 2800 milliamp hour, so slightly smaller than the regular Galaxy S7, which is at 3000, and then the S7 Edge is at 3600. So it is a little bit smaller, but you can hot swap them. This also does support Qualcomm's Quick Charge 3.0, whereas the Snapdragon 820 Galaxy S7s do not. So you should get a little bigger boost there in terms of speed charging. No wireless charging though, no water resistance here. So there are some differences there between the S7. So just click that back in, and you can hear it click. And then from there, because that did power it off, I do need to power it back on. And yep, use that button right there. Another thing to notice with this metal finish, it is not a fingerprint magnet. So, I mean, I'll give you some different angles here. You can see there's no fingerprints on there, and I've been touching it quite a bit while I've been recording this. With the S7 and S7 Edges, obviously they're glass on the back and they're fingerprint monsters. So if that's something that drives you nuts like it does me, something to keep in mind here. On the front, obviously you're starting to see some fingerprints now. So that is sort of a thing here. Once this boots up, we'll talk a little bit about software, always on display, things like that. But I mean, overall, like I said, I've had the phone in hand for about a day, and it feels really, really nice in hand. I know a lot of you are still sort of up in arms about this section up here. And yes, look, this is kind of an odd looking thing. It doesn't offend me. I know a lot of people just think this is the ugliest thing they've ever seen up here, but look, the 6P has a giant black bar up here. This just happens to have a smaller black hump. Look, it doesn't offend me in person. If you've only seen pictures of it on the internet, it's still bugging you, I highly recommend getting this phone in hand. It really has a great sort of rounded, bubbly feel to it with the premium metals. And yeah, that is what it is. That's not going anywhere. So you either love it or you hate it. So if we talk about software for a second, now I know this is going to be sort of hard to pick up on camera, but it does have always on display. And I can tell you right now, the always on display on the G5 is better than that on the Galaxy S7. I say that because if you can catch these icons right here, you'll notice one is voicemail, but then we have email from inbox on here. If I had a Hangouts message, those icons would be there too. So LG's implementation keeps the clock on and the date. And you can see I'm even getting pop-ups of bigger icons because I must be getting new emails. So it's showing not only that stuff, it's sort of notifying you better than Samsung does. And again, it pulls in all of your notifications and apps, whereas Samsung's really only pulls in, whatever the stock Samsung apps are. So LG's implementation far better so far. And you also do have a notification light. Knock on return, so you can knock on and knock back off if you want. The fingerprint reader on here is quite good. Like I said, you don't have to click. It's really that sort of capacitive style where you just put your finger over it, and it should unlock. Oh, I haven't unlocked yet. Let's try that again. So if we just put our fingerprint over there, it should unlock fairly quickly. And so far in my 1 day of testing it, it is incredibly fast. You can see it's a lot like the Nexus 6Ps. It just unlocks almost every time. All right, so now that we're in software, though, let's talk about this. You'll notice right away at the bottom, there is no app drawer. So the default setting with LG is no app drawer. And they did that because they don't think people really want an app drawer, and they think it adds a step to getting into your apps. I will tell you right now, I can't stand this implementation. It reminds me of iOS, and it's that app jukebox style, and it's really, really frustrating. So it took me a while to get this set up properly because your apps are just everywhere. And as I was setting the phone up and it was installing my apps, it was just spamming them all over home screen. So one thing to keep in mind, your front page, you can organize it and it will stick that way. But as you get into other pages, you can sort these alphabetically and all of that stuff. And we'll have much more on software later. But as you can see, I have 6 full pages of apps, plus my sort of custom setup up front and my quick launch area down here at the bottom. So there is no easy way that I've found to just search through your apps. There's no quick way to scroll through this. You have to go page by page until you find the app you want. Thankfully, you can customize this area down at the bottom and this front page, but it is what it is. And look, I know you can just throw on a third-party launcher and get rid of this sort of situation, but this is the way LG is presenting it. So during our review, this is what we're going to use. In terms of just other software, you can see, LG's kind of cleaned up some stuff. It's lighter. It seems pretty fast. I'm not going to lie. The performance on this thing is quite good. Here is their sort of paginated style of settings. You can switch that to list view if you want, which I'm going to do because I just much prefer list view, which is a little more default. If we jump into About Phone, just because we like to, let's show you their Android 6.0.1. So it is Marshmallow. It's MMB 29M, so it's fairly new. And this phone actually does have the March security patch, so that's a good sign. We'll dive into all of these settings if there's anything in particular that stands out just to show you guys, but we're just kind of doing a brief overview here. So you can just sort of see everything there. If we fire up the camera briefly, just to show you guys a recap of this, we'll grab S7 so we have something to focus on here. So again, there's two cameras on the back. One is for your sort of standard shots, and one is a wide angle lens. Now, I am incredibly close to the phone right here, and you can see how much more it captures in a wide angle, and then here is the normal one. The normal one this close can't even get the phone in the frame, but if I go with the wide angle picture, you can see just how much it can capture. There's obviously multiple modes, settings, pop-out modes, multi-view modes where it takes picture with all three cameras, slow-mo. There is a whole bunch of stuff to choose from here. There's auto and simple modes and full manual controls, which LG has sort of tried to take a lead on. So you do have those full manual controls back. I typically shoot in auto. Also with the phone in a sleep state, you can double tap the volume button and that does launch the camera. You can see there it's actually pretty quick. Multi-point autofocus, all that good stuff, laser autofocus. It's all in there. LG has done sort of a nice job just finishing this thing off with all high-end stuff. So that's been sort of wasn't really that quick of a look, but we do have the LG G5 in-house. We'll probably do S7 review, then we'll really hammer on this thing before it hits launch. This is an early device, so we can't do like full detailed battery testing, all of that stuff, but we can show you guys what the phone's capable of, have some fun with it, take some pictures, show you software features and all of that. So if you guys have comments, questions, or there's anything in particular you want us to look at, we can do that. For now, we're Droid Life with a pink G5. Peace.